Welcome back, everyone. This is Mindy Eggen for Tailored Expressions. In today's video, I am going to create 3 cards using the new Simple Strips Snarky stamp set. I was absolutely giddy when I saw this stamp set being released. I am a huge fan of sarcasm and the humor. It just really makes me laugh. So I'm really excited to introduce this to you today. So first, we'll take a look at the supplies I'm using, which is the Simple Strips Snarky, the Simple Strips Asymmetrical die, and then I'll be using the Mythical Grumplings stamp and die set, but you can use any other image that you have in your collection. For stencils, I'm using the Masking Star, Heart of Hearts, and the Bokeh stencil. I'll also be using the Stitched Mini Slim Stacklets and the Petite Scalloped Mini Slim Stacklets. For cardstock, I have Granny Smith, Confetti Cake, Oreo, and Sugar Cube cardstock. And then for inks, I'll be using Oreo to stamp my images, Guava, Candy Corn, Lemon Meringue, Granny Smith, Plum Punch. I'll also use Peapod, Blue Raspberry, Cookie Monster, and Versamark. Some additional supplies that I will be using for my cards is the Moonstone Glimmer Paste and a palette knife to apply that glimmer paste. I also have my anti-static powder, my white embossing powder, Scotch low-tack tape to hold my dies in place, my tweezers, a Swiffer cloth, and I have foam squares and also the foam strips, my Scotch adhesive, and then the blending brushes. The first thing I'm going to do is stamp the images. Now I wanted something for an image that really matched these snarky sentiments, and any of the grumplings will work. I loved these mythical grumplings, so I lined them up in my Misty stamping tool, and I'm stamping them onto Sugar Cube cardstock with Oreo ink. I made sure to remove that foam insert of the Misty tool because these are already foam mounted stamps. Then I can work on Copic coloring my images, so you can use any form of coloring medium that you have. I prefer to use Copics because I'm really comfortable with them. For my unicorn, I am using BV04, 02, and 13. I kept the darkest color, which is the BV04, to the outside edges of the unicorn, and the highlight area, or my lightest color, will be the center. For the belly and the muzzle, I am using kind of a light pink. So I have our 02, 01, and 00. I'm also going to have a light pink for the mane, but it's just a different shade of pink. So I am going to be using R22 and R20 for the mane and the tail. I added a little bit of W4 to the hooves, and then a FY1, which is just a really bright yellow for the horns. Now for the Yeti that I have here, I'm going to do a light blue. So I have B01, 00, and 000. I'm keeping most of it white in that highlight area, just adding a little bit of shading to add dimension to the image. Then I have E04, 11, and 01 for the face, so kind of a peachy tone. And with the mouth, I'm just going to be adding the W4. And then one of my pinks for the tongue, I didn't really do any shading to the image for that. Once again, using my FY1 for the horns, and then a light gray for the belly. Now for my last image to color, which is going to be my dragon, and I think he's my absolute favorite, mainly because I'm a huge fan of dragons, but I love the contrasting color for it as well. So I used G17, YG06, and YG01. I love the brightness of that YG01 and what it adds to that highlight area. So once again, that highlights in the center, I added that G17, the darkest color, to the very outer edges and just blended it in. I also added those same colors to the tail and the wings. And then for the little spots and the parts of the tail, I just did that really dark green, so the G17. And with the belly, I'm going to be doing a bright yellow. So for the belly and the muzzle, I'm going to use Y19, Y15, and that FY1. The FY1 is kind of almost like a neon yellow, and I don't use it very often, so I thought it was just really fun to add that in there. Then I can line up the coordinating dies, hold them in place with that low tack tape, and run these through my die cut machine. Then I'll move on to working on my backgrounds. So I already went ahead and die cut a piece of sugar cube cardstock using these stitched mini slim stacklets. I thought this was a really fun card size. It was something just a little different, and they still fit in an A2 size envelope. So this one's going to be my rainbow background. I already kind of had in mind what colors I wanted to do. That's why I Copic colored my images first. So this card is going to be with the Yeti. Because that one doesn't have a lot of Copic coloring to it. It's mainly white for the most part. So this is where I brought in the rainbow. So that one has guava, candy corn, lemon meringue, Granny Smith, and I believe it was Cookie Monster. And now my plum punch, I ran out of room down here. Now there's a spot on my cardstock. I think it was from my lotion on my hands, but I'll cover that up. So plum punch, I flipped my cardstock over and ink blended that to the other end with the guava. And I think that makes a really cool combination. So I'll set that one off on the side, and I apologize I missed the filming of this first part on my card, but I'm using the Bokeh stencil onto the confetti cake cardstock. It has 3 layers to it. So the first layer I already did down, or I already ink blended down. So here is the second layer of the stencil. I used a blue raspberry on both of these layers. It's just that this second layer, I'm going a little more heavy-handed, adding a little bit more ink to it to give more of a distinction between those bubbles or circles in the background. So just something to add a little interest. And now this one, I'm using the Heart of Hearts, and I kind of customized this one a little bit. So I didn't want the heart in the center. I wanted it offset. So here I'm lining up. It's a 2-piece stencil. I have that big heart on top because I can see through the stencils to see where about it's going to land. And then I can hold my stencil down with the Post-it tape. Now, also what I'm doing with my cardstock here, which is die cut from the Granny Smith cardstock, and I'm using Peapod ink to ink blend my heart. But I added a piece of Scotch tape behind my cardstock so it's sticking to my grid mat surface. I'm also making sure to ink up those squares so I can kind of get it aligned a little bit. You can either add some masking tape to the very edge if you're worried about getting a line on your cardstock. I was just being really super careful where my blending brush was going to be, so I didn't have that. But I wanted the scattered hearts background, and I wanted that large heart there. It just, depending on how much pressure and how much ink you're putting down, will help kind of give a little more interest to that background. So now I couldn't help but add a little bit of sparkle to this. So this one is using the masking stars. I'm lining this up over that rainbow blended panel that I had done, holding the stencil in place with Post-it tape. And then I'm going to bring in the Moonstone Glimmer Paste, which is just one of my all-time favorite pastes to use. It just really adds a lot of shine. I'm spreading this over all of the stars. The bigger ones I'm being pretty careful about. I don't want to have that stencil come up on me. I don't want my paste going underneath the star. So I'm just being really careful. And then I can scrape off the excess and put it back in the jar. And I'm going to peel up the background, and I'm going to set this off on the side to dry for about 20 minutes. The drying time really depends on how thick of your glitter paste or your glimmer paste you're adding. While I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to stamp out my sentiments. I love the Simple Strip series, especially the Snarky. This one has different things like, I'm done with people, nope, not today, sorry, not sorry. Just something to make the person laugh. And I have a lot of friends that would totally appreciate something like this because it's something to make you smile. It does to me anyway. I love snarky sentiments. So I'm going to be doing this onto some Oreo cardstock, which I prepped with an anti-static powder tool. I'm inking this up with the Versamark ink, and make sure you're also inking up those registration marks or those squares alongside. Then once I have that stamped down really good, I'm going to sprinkle on some white embossing powder. Once again, just making sure that you're hitting those little squares on the side because that is going to help us line up our die. So this asymmetrical die that we'll be using has slants on the edge of it, which I think is really fun. You can leave them as slants, or if you want one edge to be flush, you can always trim off the slant. Now here, after I heat embossed, I'm wiping that with a Swiffer cloth just to help remove any of that powder that I had added previously. So here's that asymmetrical simple strips die. I'm lining up those squares. I'm going to hold the die in place with Post-it tape and run that through the die cut machine. Once those are die cut, I went through and just picked out ones that I really liked. I have the green background matched with my green dragon, and I'm adding it straight to the cardstock with a tape runner because my sentiment strip is long and it's going to overlap onto my dragon. So I'm just adding one of the foam strips to the back of my sentiment. And then once I peel up the backing, I can just line that up. So sarcasm is my love language. I know my husband will love that card. Now I used the Bokeh background with the unicorn, and I have 3 of them here that I thought went really well together. So we have Hey Snarky Friend, Went Out, Do Not Recommend. It's fine. Everything is fine. I love it. Now we have our rainbow background, and this one, the sentiment strips were a little smaller. So I'm adding foam squares to the back of my Yeti, and then I have the foam strips on the back of my sentiments. And these say, "You're my favorite dork. Sorry, not sorry." It just fun and playful. I totally enjoyed working with this set. And now keep in mind, you can use any stencils or background stamps or images you want to go with your snarky sentiments. I just thought the Grumplings were a really great match. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you again next time.